US President Donald Trump is meeting Ukraine's leader Volodymyr Zelensky in Florida to potentially secure a peace deal to end the war in Europe. Talks are centred on a potential end to the war in Ukraine. The US is adamant on playing a pivotal role through its 20-point peace plan.
I do believe that we have the makings of a deal that's good for Ukraine, good for everybody, and very important. There's nothing more important, in my opinion. We settled 8 wars, and this is the most difficult one. I thought it would be in the middle of the pack. This is the most difficult one, but we're going to get it done.
They work on different documents. I hope that all these documents can bring peace as quick as possible.
Mark Stone has more details on the significance of the meeting.
Could be boiled down into 2 distinct themes. One is security guarantees, what America is willing to give, and that means what Trump is willing to give in terms of security guarantees down the line for Ukraine. And the second is territory. And they are 2 very, very difficult issues. One is difficult for Zelensky, and one appears to be difficult for President Trump. Trump does not appear to be wholly willing to provide long-standing American military security guarantees to Ukraine, largely because it doesn't seem to fit with his worldview, which is that Europe is ultimately Europe's problem. And even though Europe is trying to stand on its own 2 feet with its increased funding of NATO and all the rest of it, Trump kind of is not really up for a long-term military commitment to Europe of the type that Ukraine is asking for. So the question there is, can Ukraine and the Europeans persuade him? Maybe, maybe not. The second issue, territory, is a tricky one for Zelensky, because he is being asked by the Americans and, of course, by the Russians, just give up the east of your country, up to 20% of the land in the east, the land that they have been fighting over. Give it up. Give it over to Russia. Well, Zelensky's not willing to do that at the moment. And so that, for him, is a massively difficult issue. And in terms of the 2 sort of bits that are linked to both of those strands to come out of what we just heard there, well, on security guarantees, I thought it was really interesting that Trump said no one yet knows exactly what will be written into the security agreement. So that kind of brings everyone back down to earth, because it's not as if they have some agreement and they're about to sign it, that the Americans are committed to a form of security for Ukraine, because Trump's saying just a few minutes ago, no one knows exactly what will be written into the agreement. Well, surely Trump does. Surely he's thought about it. Maybe not. So that is certainly something the Americans the Europeans will be focused on. And then on the issue of territory, well, it's something that came out of the Kremlin that I think is very, very interesting, because a spokesperson for the Kremlin, reacting to the call that Trump held with Putin just before the meeting that he's having now, a spokesperson said the main thing is that the presidents of the United States and Russia generally hold similar views, that the temporary ceasefire options proposed by the Ukrainians and Europeans under the pretext of preparing a referendum will only prolong the conflict or risk a resumption of hostilities. Now, just to break that down briefly, the European and Ukrainian position has been have a ceasefire 60 days long, hold a referendum in Ukraine to ask the people of Ukraine about the issue of territory. Are they willing to give up that land or not? And then find out what the result of that referendum is. Well, the Russians, and according to the Russians, the Americans as well, think that's a bad idea. And instead, what should happen is that Ukraine should just give up all of that land right now. So if the Americans are really aligned with the Russians on that, well, then this meeting is not going to end well today.